Hi, I'm Scott with Moroso Performance, and I'm here to show you how to rebuild your Moroso 22640 or 641 vacuum pump on your race car. We're here at Englishtown, New Jersey, and we're going to show you on John D. Bartolomeo's Supercom Dragster the easiest way to perform this task. You can either do it before you go out and make a run in the morning or between rounds if the performance falls off. So hang tight, and you'll watch this video, and you too will be able to make your Moroso vacuum pump last a long time. All right, we've gone and gotten our rag and our Allen wrench, and here we are, and we're pretty much ready to go in and take this thing apart. The nice thing about these pumps is they pretty much unbolt from the front and everything comes right out the front. The way this pump works, it mounts from the back, so there's really nothing behind it you need to worry about. So we're gonna go in, take off these 4 bolts. There are washers on it, so make sure you grab those. And with any vacuum pump, there probably is going to be some oil in it. One of the tips that we tell people, a lot like John has done here, is try to mount your exhaust fitting between the 4 o'clock and the 8 o'clock position, because it allows the oil to drain out of this thing on the exhaust side. So we're going to simply take this Moroso vacuum pump, pull it out, and the whole pump comes right out simply like that. A little bit of oil coming out. And now we're going to go in and rebuild this thing. All right, now that we got the pump out of the car, one of the big things to always make sure is when you take it out inside in the rear, you're going to have a thrust washer, a thrust bearing, and another thrust washer. Make sure you got all those out because they'll hang up inside on the roller bearing that's in there. Once you got all these parts out, basically you could sit here and very simply just wipe everything down with a rag. You're gonna have a little bit of oil, a little bit of carbon residue on it, and then at that point, come on in here and slide out your vanes. This one obviously is a 4 vane. We're gonna take them all out. And again, real time, we're just gonna show you how simple this all is. You can get some carbon choke cleaner, wipe everything down, but just by getting some of the residue off of there, wiping down every one of your vanes that you have, you're gonna go in and you're gonna check for chips on the top. This one has a little bit of chipping, but mind you, these Moroso vacuum pumps spin so fast that even a chip across it will not affect how much vacuum it creates because it is spinning so fast, drawing so much volume out of it. So don't get too concerned unless a part of it's broken off. But for the most part, these vanes will last you a long time. Here's your tech tip. People say, when's the time to change my Moroso vacuum pump vanes? When this vane is 100 thousandths down into the slot, that's when it's time to change them. Other than that, they're the right height, they won't fold over in the pump, and pretty much they're broken in. You'll get plenty of good use out of your Moroso vacuum pump. A lot of guys I know can get about 400 to 500 runs out of them. You should be good to go. So we're going to show you next, we're going to wash this thing off and put it back in. All right, the next step is now that we've got everything sitting here, we're just going to basically take some brake parts cleaner. Brake parts cleaner works best because it evaporates after you've used it. Doesn't leave a residue or anything behind, but you could use carbon choke cleaner too. So we're just going to go in and clean this out, get all the carbon graphite and oil out of it, wipe this out nicely, wipe the front down. Then we're going to take each one of these vanes, and we're just going to wipe them down again with brake cleaner. You can actually see with this slight breeze we got here, it's evaporating it already. Clean them up nicely. Do all your vanes, and then take your rotor assembly, clean your thrust bearings off, and then go in here and just kind of spray inside the slots. Take a rag, if you have a Q-tip around, and just go inside here and clean out these slots and get a lot of the residue out of there too. That's where a lot of it builds up. And what that does, that actually causes the vane to stick in the slot a little bit, and that'll affect how it performs at low RPM. Typically a lot of people notice when their thing's not idling as well or making vacuum at idle, that's typically why. So we've got all these components wiped down, real simple. If you got some compressed air, blow it off. But that's pretty much it. At this point, we've got this thing clean, not oily, and we're ready to put it back together here in a moment. One of the most commonly overlooked things with putting in a Moroso vacuum pump vane back in is which way does it go in. If you notice on the back side of this, there's a chamfer, and on the ends, there's a little relief. The relief and the chamfer go inward. The chamfer goes down to clear some of the machining inside of there, and at the end there's a relief, and what the relief does is the relief clears the thrust bearing assembly that's on both ends. But that's one of the most common mistakes we've seen people do, is put the vane in backwards, and sometimes they'll get stuck in there, but that's the right way to put it in. All right, now the pump's all back together. We're just going to take a little bit of oil and put it into the thrust bearing assembly, both of the back and just a little bit in the front, just to get some oil in there. Obviously, once you run the pump, you'll get plenty of oil in there. We checked our 2 screws, made sure everything was really good. So at this point, we're going to put the pump back in. Now the trick, it's an eccentric, so it's an offset shaft. Where the shaft in the rotor is closest to the edge, that's where the top of the pump is. So I can kind of lay this thing in, let the vanes fall, and then just line it up, put our pins back, realign it. And basically all we're going to do now is just take these screws, just put barely a touch of blue Loctite on them, and we're going to get it back together and get this thing back on the track here momentarily. All right, at this point we're just going to finish buttoning up the front of this pump here, put our screws back on, tighten them up with that blue Loctite like we spoke about, and that'll just ensure that it's in good condition. Another little trick we got, if you want, take a small, and I do mean a small amount of silicone, preferably black RTV, and you can just barely put it on the face of that pump. Biggest thing that does is just prevent some of that oil from possibly leaking out from inside of there. We're going to go back in, put our pulley back on, line our pulley up, get it back on here. Put our screws in. Basically that took all of about 10-15 minutes. Really not hard to do. Good to do every once in a while on it. Lubricates it up nice. And it's just good to visually look at the thing every once in a while. But basically these Moroso vacuum pumps are fully rebuildable. Started building these things in 1997. And we sell a lot of them, but that's it. Never had to take the pump off the car, ready to go. Bolted back up. We're going to fire up the car and see how it works. So that's it. That's how to rebuild your Moroso vacuum pump at the track or in the morning. Real simple and easy. We hope you have many years of good use out of your Moroso vacuum pump. We appreciate you for watching this episode of Moroso Tech TV.